Hi, this is Mr. Renfro, and we're going to do an instructional video on ordering integers from greatest to least and least to greatest. Also, when we compare them one to another, which one is greater than, which one is less than, and how we can tell that. Okay, first of all, when comparing integers, remember numbers to the right are always larger. Numbers to the right are always larger. And you know, when you have a number line, that's pretty easy to see. Okay, so for example, -9 and -5. Okay, well, -5 is to the right. Any number to the right is always larger. Okay, so -5 is to the right of -9. That's to the right. And since it's to the right, it's larger. We also know it's larger because it's closer to 0. -5 is closer to 0 than -9, so we know it's larger. That's the way negatives work. The larger the negative number, the closer it is to 0. And that's the way negatives work. The further away it is, the smaller it is. And the further it is away from 0. So if we got some examples here, okay? So let's start with the first one. The first example are whole numbers, or positive numbers. Positive numbers you've worked with your whole life. And I think everybody here knows that 8 is smaller than 10. So less than. Remember the less than sign points to the smaller number on the left. Okay? So, and 8 is to the left of 10. Anytime a number is to the left of another number on the number line, it's smaller. So 8 is less than 10. All right, let's try the next one. We got -5 and -3. Well, -5 is to the left of -3, so -5 is smaller than -3. And remember that -3 is closer to 0 than -5. So therefore, -3 is larger or bigger than -5. All right, the next one, -2 and -8. Which one's on the right? Well, the -2 is on the right, so it has to be a bigger number. It's also closer to 0, which means it's a bigger number. So -2 is greater than -8. So those last couple examples were negative numbers comparing two negatives. But now we got a +8 and a positive, well, we got 0. 0 is not positive. So, positive 8, excuse me, not negative, +8 and 0. So which number's on the right? So 8 is bigger. The number on the right will always be bigger. So 8 is larger than 0. Okay? 8 is larger than 0. All right, the next one has 0 and -5. So which one's on the right this time? 0 is. So 0 is larger than -5. And remember, 0 is larger than any negative number. And it's smaller than any positive number. How about 9 and -9? Well, 9 is on the right, so 9 is bigger than -9. All right, 5 and -7. 5 and -7, which number's on the right? 5 is. So 5 is larger than -7. Well, Mr. Renfro, the next number is not on the number line. However, I do know that -20 is further away from 0 than -13. So -13 has to be bigger than -20. Right, very good. All right, let's put these integers in order from least to greatest. Again, if they're least to greatest, they're going to go this way in order on a number line. Okay? We'll go this way in number on a number line. All right, so which one would come first? Well, which one is furthest away from 0? Because we have 3 negatives and we have 0. We have no positive numbers. If there were positive numbers would be the greatest numbers. But since all we have is negatives and 0, negatives have to come first. Well, which of these negatives is the least? Well, which one is furthest away from 0? Negative 8 is furthest away from 0. If we put all the negative numbers on, we know that negative 8 is furthest away from 0. So it has to be first. Okay. Then, negative 7 would be next. Negative 5 would be next. And then 0 would be last. And they go from left to right on the number line. They go from the left to right on the number line, which means they are least greatest order. Okay. Here's another least to greatest. All right. First, we evaluate our numbers. We have negatives and positives. What do we do? If this is least to greatest, the negatives have to come first, and the positives have to come last. Okay? Because positives are always larger than negatives. So which one is the smallest negative number of the three we have? Negative 4, negative 8, or negative 2? Well, which one is further away from 0? Hopefully you said this one. Negative 8. Negative 8 is furthest away. Then negative 4, then negative 2, and then the positive number will be the largest. Positive number will be the largest. Now, what if we reverse it, Mr. I'll go greatest to least. Well, then I need positive numbers first and negative numbers last. So what would be the largest positive number we have here? Well, that would be 10. 10 is first. All right, then what? Well, we don't have any more positive numbers, but we do have 0. So 0 would be next. Now, which one of these is the greatest negative number? In other words, which one is closer to 0? Well, that would be negative 2. Then negative 3. And then negative 5. So the numbers should go this way if they're in greatest to least order. 10, 0, negative 2, negative 3, negative 5, and they do. Go in there. All right, now we don't have a number line. No number line. So what would be the greatest number here? Well, greater numbers are positive numbers. Do we have any positives? Sure do. So that has to be first. Okay. Now, what would be the largest, because this is greatest, negative number? Which one's closer to 0? Negative 3. Then what? Negative 8. Negative 10. Negative 14 is the smallest of these numbers. All right. How about these least greatest? Again, no number line. So least would mean negative numbers first. So what is the one furthest away from 0? Negative 86. Good. Then negative 23. Now we've done with the negatives. We'll come next. 0. 0 is in between the negatives and the positive. And what is the smallest positive number? 23. What is the next positive number? 45. All right. So now they're in order from least to greatest. All right. If I asked you which of these numbers is greater than negative 5? Well, here's negative 5. So all the numbers have to be that direction if they're greater. If they're this direction, they're smaller. Okay, remember, furthest away from 0 for negative numbers is smaller. So, is negative 8 going this way? No, it's not. So we know that that is not greater than negative 5. Is the number 2 to the right? Yes, it is. So that's a good answer. Is the negative 10 to the right? No, it's over here on the left. So that's not the right answer. All right. How about negative 1? Is it to the right of negative 5? Yes, it is. Right there. That's a good answer. How about -6? Nope, it's on this side. So it's and forward. Yep, forward right here. It's to the right. So that's also greater. So those three numbers are greater than -5, and the other three that I marked out are not greater than -5. All right, well, which one of these? Sorry. Yeah. Which one of these are greater than -4? Which one of these are greater than -4? Well, here's -4. And if they're greater than, they have to be this way. If they're less than, they got to be this way. Okay, so that's less. And this is greater. Okay, so -6. -6 is less than, it's to the left. So that's that. All right, how about 4? Well, 4 is to the right. So that's a good one. -2 is to the right. So that's a good one. -1 is to the right. So that's a good one. 0 is to the right. So that's a good one. -10 is to the left. So that's less than. So we had 4 good answers that time. 4 good answers. All right, what about comparing absolute value? Remember what absolute value is. Absolute value is the distance from 0 to a number on a number line. All right, in order to compare absolute value of -3 and the absolute value of 5, we first have to find their distances on the number line from 0. All right, well, the absolute value of -3, we go from 0 to the number on the number line, is 1, 2, 3. The answer to that is 3. The absolute value of -3 is 3. Distance from 0 to -3 on the number line is 3. Remember, absolute value distances are going to be positive answers most of the time. Okay? Now, how about the absolute value of 5? In other words, how far is it from 0 to 5 on a number line? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the absolute value of 5 is 5. Now, once we solve and figure out the distance and the absolute value, then we can say if it's greater than or less than. So is 3 greater than or less than 5? Well, it's less than. So -3, the absolute value of -3 is less than the absolute value of 5. Right? The absolute value of -8 and the absolute value of -5. Well, the absolute value of -8, well, how far is it from 0 to -8? Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the absolute value of -8 is 8. That's the distance from 0 to the number on the number line. All right, what about from 0 to -5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The distance from 0 to -5 is 5. And we know that 8 is a greater distance than 5, so 8 is larger than 5. Okay. Remember, we're comparing the distances. Comparing the distances. When we do absolute value, we're comparing the distances of one number from 0 to another number from 0. All right, same thing here. Same thing here. So we got the absolute value of -2, which how far is it from 0 to -2? 1, 2. 2 is the distance. And the distance from 0 to 3 is 1, 2, 3. So it's a further distance. So that's 3. So 2 is less than 3. 2 is less than 3. Remember, when you do absolute value, remember to solve the absolute value first. In other words, tell the distance first. Once you have the distance, then you compare the distance. Which distance is further? Okay? One more here. Let's try this one. All right, 8. So the distance from 0 to 8 would be 8. And the distance from 0 to negative 10 would be 10. So which distance is further? Well, 8 is smaller than 10. So that kind of concludes ordering, comparing integers, and comparing absolute values.